Jamaica will not attain its 2030 vision because of communities like Claremont Heights housing scheme that is working against the government. Gang stalkers show no regard for the government that is putting mechanisms in place to provide a clean and safe environment for its citizens. While the Constitution is clear that Jamaica guarantees a free, peaceful, and safe environment for its citizens, gang stalkers, extortionists, criminals, psychopaths, same difference, are uglifying the community and preparing the youths to become murderers, extortionists, rapists, etc. It has been suggested that to stem the crime rate in the country, the government must dismantle garrisons. A garrison is defined as a gated community, a military base. But in Jamaica, it is an area ruled by a don and riddled with crime. In other words, it is the empire of a don. Though fairly new relative to other schemes, Claremont Heights is rapidly descending into a garrison. Block 19 is particularly singled out as it is the stronghold of a dangerous dog-breeding family that is fraudulently portraying itself as a family of vets. The block is hate-infested, promotes violence against women, and the Citizen Association encourages the violation of various laws. The area operates an extortion racket. Recall, extortion is the obtaining of property, money, or services from an individual or entity through coercion, that is, force, harassment, bullying, violence, intimidation, threats, and duress. In their efforts to obtain the property of Lot 300, the fake vets, the extortionists, contravene the following acts: the Constitution, the Registrar of Titles, the Obia, the Country Fires, the Larceny, the Dividing Fence, the Veterinary, the Noise Abatement, the Road Code, the Malicious Injury to Property, the National Solid Waste Management, the Defamation, the Restrictive Covenant Acts, along with other laws. What does the Jamaican Constitution say about how you should feel in your own country, community, and home? According to the Jamaican Constitution, Chapter 3, Section 13, every person in Jamaica, irrespective of their race, color, creed, sex, place of origin, or political opinion, is entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms. But this is relative, not absolute. It is subject to the rights and freedom of others and the public interest. These rights include, but not limited to, the enjoyment of property, respect for your private and family life. The Constitution contains limitations designed to ensure that the enjoyment of one's rights does not prejudice the rights and freedom of others or the public's interests. Under Section 16, no person shall be deprived of his freedom of movement, the right to move freely throughout Jamaica, the right to reside in any part of Jamaica, the right to enter and leave Jamaica at will, immunity from expulsion from Jamaica. So gang stalkers who are forcing you to move, stalking you, invading your privacy, are prejudicing your right. They are raping you of your fundamental constitutional rights and freedom. Their actions dictate that they are voluntarily surrendering their own rights to enjoy such freedoms. Their action loudly declares them as criminals, extortionists, psychopaths, thugs, and demon-possessed. There are several laws that reinforce the Constitution. Let's highlight a few of them. 1. The Rent Restriction Act, Part 2, the Tenant's Covenant. Section C says, the tenant agrees to keep the premises in a sanitary condition and refrain from any conduct which is a nuisance or annoyance to adjoining occupiers. Failure to do so, Section 25C shows that legal redress through the courts is in order. 2. The Parish Council Act shows under Article 121, Section A and F that the Parish Council has the power to prohibit or regulate the keeping of dogs among other animals, and the prohibiting or removing of encroachment and nuisances. Failure of the Parish Council to execute its duty to abate a nuisance is an act of negligence and a dereliction of duty, a grounds for legal action. 3. Under the Public Health Act, Article 7, Section O, it shows the local health board may make regulations regarding nuisances. Article 12, one of the local health board's function is the prevention or abatement of any nuisance. Article 21 shows that any expenses incurred from the abatement of a nuisance can be recovered from the person causing the nuisances. Failure to execute its duty is also grounds for legal action. 4. The Registration of Titles Act under Section 97 Schedule of the Act, Article 8 shows that proprietors of residential lots cannot use their property for anything but as a private dwelling house. Article 9 further states that the proprietor at no time can use his or her property for any noxious, noisome, or offensive art, trade, business, occupation, or calling, and no act on any part of the property can grow to the annoyance, nuisance, grievance, damage, or disturbance of the occupiers of the adjoining lands and properties. The Registration of Strata Titles Act No. 5, under the first schedule, says, proprietor shall d. use and occupy the common property in such a manner as not unreasonably to interfere with the use and enjoyment thereof by other proprietors or their families or visitors. Section E says, the proprietor shall not use his strata, lot, or permit it to be used in such a manner or for such purpose as shall cause a nuisance or hazard to the occupier of any other strata, lot, whether a proprietor or not, or the family of such occupier. These handful of laws are sufficient to emphasize that the constitutional right of law-abiding individuals are legally protected. The spirit of the laws emphasize that the need to protect others' privacy and peaceful enjoyment of property. The only people who would deprive an individual of their fundamental rights are, as mentioned earlier, repetition for emphasis here, are lawless people, psychopaths, hardened criminals, people possessed by demons. Harassments and nuisances are activities that violate the basic fundamental rights of others. Let us be reminded of some basic definitions. A nuisance is an act, person, or thing which is harmful or offensive to the public or member of it, and for which there is legal remedy. Nuisance signifies the right of quiet enjoyment is being disrupted to such a degree that a tort is being committed. Public nuisance is an act not warranted by law or an omission to discharge a legal duty, which act or omission obstructs or causes inconvenience or damage to the public. This speaks to the parish council and public health department's negligence of duty. A tort is a wrongful act or an infringement of a right or an omission that gives rise to injury or harm to another and amount to a civil wrong for which courts impose liability. Injury describes the invasion of any legal right. Harm describes a loss or detriment in fact that an individual suffers. Harassment is systematic and/or continued unwanted and annoying actions of one party or group, including threats and demand. It includes aggressive pressure or intimidation or even blackmail. How does Claimant Heights, under the direction of this fake vet, cook up a harassment campaign? Basic ingredients are a barrel full of hate, one large psychopath, a bunch of unemployed bullies, age is insignificant, 2 cups of steroid, 6 drums of various harassment of your choice, at least 1 corrupt public servant, a number of cell phones, 8 large bags of noise to supplement the harassment, 10 boxes of fabricated lies and gossip, the more colorful the better, how juicy, and red coloring. The main ingredient, an innocent bystander or scapegoat. Instruction: 1. Make sure to mark the bystander. 2. Mix all the basic ingredients and let loose in the neighborhood of the targeted individual. Voila! The final dish. Mobbing, organized gang stalking, community-based harassment. Call it what you will. When I just moved to the scheme, the fake vet was not portraying himself as a vet. In fact, he pretended to be very nice. Hindsight now allows me to see that it was mere pretense. That is how I'm able to identify the various gang stalkers. They have a two-faced personality. At first they pretend to be very nice, but quickly they transform into a bully on steroids. Would you believe the man came to me one day and said that in case of anything I should give him a copy of my house keys? He alleged that Verna at lot 298 gave him a copy of her keys. Imagine if I had. Based on information gathered about gang stalkers, I realized that I would have been murdered already. It was after I refused to hand over my keys that the man started his gang stalking campaign visibly. His message: if me not get your keys, you can't use it. Verna revealed publicly that she gave no one a copy of her keys. Shortly after that public announcement, she moved. Coincidence? While spreading his hate propaganda, he began his noise campaign with constant and incessant hammering like crazy. For someone who professes to have a bad heart, it was amazing the amount of exertion he would expend to generate such noise. Then he graduated to a loud sound system. When the commissioner of police at that time started a media advertisement of a zero tolerance of the Noise Abatement Act and several complaints from other neighbors that the sound system subsided. Then came the dogs. Snoring dogs. Right under my bedroom window. At first, I thought the man was sleeping under my window because his wife had put him in the doghouse. Have you ever heard a dog snore? Imagine, after acquiring your own home, you cannot enjoy a peaceful night's rest because of a malicious neighbor that places a snoring dog under your bedroom window? Yapping dogs. Is this dog in my house? Do you hear this noise? You would believe the dog is in my house, but it is actually the dog of the fake vet, purposely placed to harass and provide sleep deprivation. Lion dogs. Dogs sound like lions. Screaming dogs from sunrise to sunset, triggered by the sound of the town crier, triggered by the sound of the ice cream van, triggered by God knows what. Thudding sounds on the wooded floor of the dog kennels. According to Gleaner columnist Mr. Craig Francis, there is restrictive covenants that speak specifically how close to the dividing fence one can have a dog kennel. This fake vet has the concrete dog kennel built in the dividing fence between his property and Lot 301, which the parish council has turned a blind eye to. He placed board kennels along the dividing fence of his and my property. Although the manager for commercial business at the parish council told me specifically that the fake vet was instructed to remove the board kennel, he has refused and still has the dogs making noise under my window. Interestingly, if the dogs are not making the thudding sound, it is the fake vet himself making the noise, scraping the floor of the kennel in an aggressive way. Clanging sounds of all types. It is reasonable that persons will make noise on their properties. But these noises are not natural sounds. They are deliberate with the intention to harass and provoke. Zinc shaking. Look at the zinc. They are maliciously destroying the zinc by knocking it or shaking it at all hours of the day and night. These people are both psychotic and demonic. Pot scraping. According to my helper, this is some form of obia practice. I've tried to research the information, but have not found any data. For anyone out there who knows of this practice of scraping pot for somebody, please do tell me about it and its meaning and origin. As you can see, these people are lawless and have no regard for anyone. These are the characteristics of those who are hell-bent on extorting people's properties. These are the people who are transforming Jamaica from being the pearl of the Caribbean to the jonker bead of the Greater Antilles. As long as people like these are let loose on society, Jamaica will never be the desired destination to live, raise a family, and do business unless they are thugs, drug lords, and criminals of all sorts.